Hello, I'm Kimberly, and welcome to the weekend edition of the Native News Update. It's Friday, March 28th, and many of the stories you hear here can be found at IndianCountryTV. And here's the news for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. The roar of the hillside collapsing was so loud that Robin Youngblood thought an airplane had crashed. But when she looked out the window of her mobile home, all she saw was a wall of mud racing across her beloved river valley toward her home. Youngblood is among the few survivors of the massive deadly mudslide that destroyed a rural community northeast of Seattle, Washington. In the early 1900s, Youngblood's family helped establish the community of Darrington. They were Cherokee who had been forced to move to Oklahoma and Arkansas, but decided to move to Washington. Youngblood's great-grandmother is buried a few blocks from the Darrington town center. 2 years ago, Youngblood was living in Hawaii, but her children asked her to move home. She found a mobile home on 6 acres. 3 of those were wetland by the river. The other 3, she said, were above the historic flood line. She had valleys around her home with eagles, bear, fox, salmon, and coyotes. Out of her home, she ran a church anchored on her Native American heritage. The Yakama Nation is ramping up its effort to ensure a new law legalizing recreational marijuana in Washington state won't apply on ancestral land. The nation has already said pot will stay illegal on around 1.2 million acres of reservation in central Washington, where state law is trumped by local rules. But Reuters reported this week that the tribe is considering a bold move that would test the limits of tribal sovereignty by seeking to keep weed outlawed on another 10.8 million acres of ancestral land. According to Reuters journalist Jonathan Kaminsky, the Yakima want to make sure the cultivation and selling of marijuana remains against the law on a huge stretch of Washington that was ceded by the United States government through an 1855 treaty, but where the tribal members maintain hunting, food gathering, and fishing rights. The Washington State Liquor Control Board has previously ruled that no marijuana licenses will be issued to business on federal land, including Indian reservations, but did not address ceded grounds like the 10 million acres now being discussed. Washington Redskins owner Dan Snyder says it's time to put some money behind his claim that his team's nickname honors Native Americans. He is doing this by creating a foundation to assist American Indian tribes. The Washington Redskins Original American Foundation will provide meaningful and measurable resources that provide genuine opportunities for Native Americans. The announcement did not state whether Snyder will personally donate any money to the foundation and gave no other financial details. Snyder again gave no indication he plans to change the team's name. He said he believes even more firmly the name captures the best of who we are and who we can be by staying true to our history and honoring the deep and enduring values our name represents. Over the last 4 months, Snyder and his staff visited 26 reservations. He listed poverty, illness, drug abuse, violence, and lack of basic infrastructure as among the problems faced by Native Americans. Susan Shonarjo, a lead figure in a long-running case that seeks to strip the Redskins of their federal trademark protection, wondered why Snyder, who had owned the team since 1999, is only just now reaching out to Native Americans. As a member of the Navajo Nation and an Army veteran, Arizona Representative Jamesita Peshlaki says Arizona needs to do more to honor Native Americans who have served and sacrificed for their country. One way, she said, was to start adopting new names honoring Native American veterans for portions of highways that pass through Navajo and Hopi land in northeastern Arizona. She introduced 4 memorials this year that would urge the Arizona Department of Transportation to make these changes. For US 89, Native American Veterans Highway. For US 160, Native American Women Veterans Highway. For State Route 264, Native American Code Talker Highway. And for I-40, Navajo Code Talker Trail. On March 21st, Christian Parrish Takes the Gun from Crow Nation, who raps under the name SupaMan, was named Artist of the Week on MTV Iggy blog. Native Americans grasped that culture of hip-hop because of the struggle, says SupaMan. Hip-hop was talking about the ghetto life, poverty, crime, drugs, alcohol, teen pregnancy. All that crazy stuff that happens in the ghetto is similar to the reservation life. We can all relate to that. SupaMan's upbringing made him a first-hand witness to all of these things. His parents were both alcoholics, and he spent much of his youth in foster care before moving in with his grandfather. His pride is deeply woven in his musical persona, which fuses gritty 90s East Coast rap influences with the legacy and traditions of the Great Plains. And that's another roundup of the news from Indian Country on this edition of the Nave News Update. I'd like to thank you for joining me and have a grand day.